Hey everyone. My theme for March is confidence awakenings and new beginnings. And today we are talking about Black women healing their relationship with their hair. Hey everyone, it's Rushni, aka Glamazini. I am a healing journey coach for Black women, and I'm also a Black woman healing. I create humor filled spaces so that other Black women like you can heal too. Today, I have a guest. Her name is Evette. She has been on my page before. She's actually a therapist and a trainer. But Evette, introduce yourself because today I'm talking to Evette, the woman, and not necessarily Evette, the therapist. Go for it, Evette.
Hi, thank you so much for having me again, Rashni. I love chatting with you and I love your platform. Again, my name is Yvette. I am by profession a therapist and a trainer, but I'm also an author. I am also a Black woman healing. I have a lot of lived experience, and when Rashni asked me about this topic, I was a little apprehensive, but I am excited because I love the ideal of helping Black women heal.
I love that. Okay, we're going to get into why she felt apprehensive. If you are watching, I am live on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter X. Drop a pineapple in the chat. Tell me where you're watching from, and tell me if you're a Black woman and how you feel about your hair. Hey, Stephanie, we were just talking about you before this because you're the inspiration for this video. Yay. Okay. Okay. Okay, so before I begin, I have to get some housekeeping. Housekeeping. Every month, I highlight a Black woman author. Yvette was actually one of my highlights a month or two ago. Yay. And I'll talk about her. The links to her books are already in the information box wherever you're watching, you guys, but we'll tell you about them later. This month, I am highlighting fellow Virgin Islander, Eugenia O'Neill, and her book, Jessamine. She sent me this book when it was a manuscript. Amen. And I read it then. And when I wanted to support her, I went and bought the book. This is a fiction. You guys know I don't do a lot of fictions. I like nonfictions, but this is a beautiful fiction about a protagonist who's living in the 1800s, post abolition, on a fictional Caribbean island. And since she's a Virgin Islander, it's very realistic. And then a century later, she has to help the person that's living in her home, Jessamine, solve a crime. There's a love story. There's all kinds of good stuff. If you are interested in reading the book Jessamine, links to it is in the information box. And if you are a Black woman author and you would like a chance to be featured, a link on how to contact me is in the information box. The other thing I told Yvette that I need to address, I have notes, you guys, is your girl, which is me, Rushni, went and got her eyebrows done. Do y'all see that? I went and got ombre brows yesterday, so I need to talk about the elephant in the room, okay? Because I'm browed up. And the brows she gave me they're very assertive. Okay, they're very confident brows. They're very I am present brows, and I'm trying to learn how I feel about these brows. It's day one. I literally had them done 24 hours ago. So I am in the healing balm, put aquaphor all over your eyebrows type of look. Amen. And don't touch them, don't get them wet. They gonna get darker, which they are. They're darker than they will be. They gonna get lighter. They gonna peel. They gonna flake. They gonna do a lot of stuff. I feel like I could tell you guys that because we're talking about beauty stuff. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, I'm trying to get used to them. They're a lot more brow that I'm used to. You know what I mean? I'm a natural girl, natural beauty. The gal no need no makeup to be a cutie. So listen. Anyway, so your girl has brows. That's the second thing. All right, let's talk about this. Today, we're talking about Black women healing their relationship with their hair. I'm going to tell you the inspiration for this, and then we're going to get into it. Last Saturday, I was watching Stephanie Perry interview Alecia Renece on her channel. I forgot to put the link to that video. I'll put it in the information box with a timestamp for you to hear the portion of the conversation that inspired this entire thing. While I was listening to them, Stephanie brought up Alicia's recent video about her natural hair, which I had not watched yet, but I have since went back and watched, right? So Alecia was sharing her story. I'll put Alicia's video in the information box too. And then Stephanie shared that she had not yet, although she felt liberated by to wear her natural hair texture out in the world, because Stephanie will rock a fro. like nobody's business. Okay, the fro is perfection. If you're listening, boo boo, the fro is beautiful. We all love it. Okay, and it's kind of like a trademark for you, kind of like how Tabitha has a fro as a trademark, and Evette. Y'all see Evette's hair. It's a trademark. Come on, it's a trademark, right? Stephanie's fro is perfection. However, she had not been liberated about her wearing her hair gray yet. And then she went on to share what graying felt for her. There was a lot of emotions behind it. There was a lot of social messaging, etc., etc. While I was in the comments, I was like, oh my God, this is an intersection of two of my favorite topics: Black women healing and our natural hair. If you are unaware of moi, my name is Rashni, and I am one of the founding members of the natural hair movement on the internet. Okay, you better ask about me. I have since jumped out of that space. But listen, we was out here, okay? And so if you have a twist out, if you own a product with shea butter in it, I'm going to go ahead and take some credit for that. You're welcome. God bless you. Okay, so so I was like, let me bring this conversation to my page. And I was just telling Evette before this is actually one of the easiest topics I have had booking women to talk about, to the point that I think I might have to like spread out these conversations and maybe like once a month, because this topic of hair is a big deal to us. It's such a big deal. Okay, so why is Evette here? Evette is here because, one, she's great. Two, I've had her on my page before. Three, I finally met her in person a few weeks ago, and we sat there talking for 4 hours. You guys, it felt like 4 minutes. So yes. Just a joy. You're just a joy, right? And in that conversation, in a previous conversation, Evette shared with me that she had to become. Well, you tell them about your gray hair. Tell them what you told me.
So I started graying. My hair started graying when I was in my 20s, and I hid it. And nobody knew that my hair was this gray until the pandemic happened. And there was no more hiding because I couldn't go to the hairdresser to hide my gray hair. I don't dye it. And this is traditionally, I didn't tell you this part. I wouldn't dye my hair because my mother was allergic to it and my sister's allergic to it. And I was afraid to have an allergic reaction. So dyeing it wasn't an option. So there was always weaves and there was always wigs to cover it up. But it mainly weaves because I don't like taking my hair off. And so I would go to the hairdresser and get this weave and cover it up, and nobody knew it was gray. And then the pandemic happened. And there was no going to the hairdresser. And so I started wrapping my head. And I still will wrap my head in a hot minute. I started wrapping my head. And then one day I went, you know what? I got to let this go. This is the way my hair grows out of my head. And so I kind of debuted this look. I was able to go to the hairdresser at this point. And I told her, I said, I am not buying hair any color but the color of my hair. And so I bought some hair. She used my hair and that hair and created a look, and I've been gray ever since. And it was one of the hardest things that I had ever done.
Do you experience it as hard still? Because to me, it's your signature. By the way, you guys, the photo of her on the thumbnail that's the first time you debuted your gray hair. Yeah, that was the graying and slaying. That was the first time when she just described. Do you still experience it as hard, or do you experience it something else?
No, it's not hard anymore. It took a minute, but there was a conversation with my brother that led to a conversation with God that helped me to really embrace it. And my brother looked at the gray hair in that picture, the one that's in the thumbnail, because I sent it to him, and he said, wow, you look younger. And when I tell you that confused the heck out of everything that was in me. And so I took it to the throne. And I was like, Lord, I need to understand this because I'm struggling with the gray hair. And he said I look younger. And my brother's not one that throws a lot of compliments my way. And so I'm like, what is going on? And in prayer, I felt the response being the Spirit saying to me, why wouldn't the natural way your hair grows out of your head make you look better? And it grow, and since then it's been like, you know what? This is how my hair grows out of my head. This is what I look like.
Well, so the freedom made you look younger?
It's not that I'm not even sure whether I agree that I look younger or not. I know that my brother thinks that. That's not the issue, because I'm 54 years old. If I look 54 years old, that's the way I'm supposed to look.
There you go.
Now, there are times when people will say to me that you don't look 50, but it's usually when I had my head wrapped that I get that compliment. But it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because my hair grew out of my head looking like this.
Right.
And it's been trying to look like this since I was 20-something. And I've been denying my hair the privilege of being what it is.
Okay. Wow. You just said a whole lot. So first of all, I want to point out that the way that you have grayed, in my estimate, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments, you guys. I think a lot of us wish that we grade the way you grade, which is almost like fully silver, because that fully silver gray looks so beautiful. And like the sporadic, I don't know if the salt and pepper, which is kind of how my family does it, to me, in my mind, is like an interim step to the fully silver. So I almost have like envy of the fact that your whole head said, I'm gonna do this. And I don't know if my whole head is ever gonna say that. You know what I mean? I'm just like, and listen, maybe I need to take that to the throne, because that, to me, I'm like, ooh, but she got the pretty gray version of it. The pretty, like full silver.
My mother's hair looked like this. This is exactly what it looked like. And I can remember having a conversation with her. I was on the porch when I was a teenager. We were standing on the front porch and I said, "Oh, mama, your hair is so pretty." She turned and looked at me and said, "Let's see how pretty it is when it's coming out of your head." And so when I was in my 20s and I started graying, I told her, "You cursed me."
Wait, okay, so let's go back. Tell me how you have worn your hair over the years, like big, across the decades, what your hair looked like. Because this is how I met you. I met you head wrap and hair out.
Yeah. Like when I was in college, I started braiding my hair. And I wore it braided for 20 years.
How was it before college, though? Like how did your mom have your hair?
My hair was problematic for my mom. She didn't know how to do it. My sister would braid my hair and just my hair. She just braided my hair. And then when I got old enough to where I didn't want my sister in my head no more because she was heavy-handed, I got a jerry curl. And the jerry curl pulled my hair out. Any kind of chemicals will pull my hair out in clumps. And I had an experience when I was in college where it all fell out, and I had what you call a TWA, which is a teeny weeny afro, and I didn't want that, and so I started getting it braided. And so for years it was braided in some form or another. And then the braids, the alopecia came, and when the alopecia came, it's pulling it out in clumps. I started getting crocheted and sewed in.
Okay, questions for you. Questions. You said your hair was problematic to your mother. Does that mean she would say that to you?
Not necessarily. No.
So how would you know it's problematic?
Because she said, "I can't do your hair. My fingers cramp when I braid." So it didn't have enough length for her to grip it. It only started getting length after I started getting it braided. Professional braids, that's when it got length to it, but it didn't have a lot of length to it. So she never said that it was problematic, but she said that she couldn't do it.
I have a question. How was your mom's hair? How did she wear? You said it was great, but how did she wear it?
This is how she wore her hair.
Just like how you have it.
Sort of. By the time she passed away, she had cancer that had fallen out, but before that, yeah, she wore it like this. She had her natural hair was very much this texture. You're making me smile because I hadn't remembered that. But her natural hair was very much this texture. And she wore it like this.
There you go.
And I didn't even realize that to this moment, Rashni.
Well, there you go. Okay, so the next question is, I heard you say that you had a TWA and you didn't want it. Why?
Because I was a kid. I was young in my 20s and I was still very much into what the world thought was beautiful. And I didn't think it was beautiful.
So you thought having a short natural, so a TWA, you guys, is basically an afro, but like a teeny weeny one. So basically what we would consider any shorter natural hairstyle, maybe an inch or two of hair, 2 inches or less of your natural hair texture on your head in an afro shape, right? That's a TWA.
Yes.
And you just didn't. So at that point, which was in college, you had not gotten to any the idea of wearing your short natural hair was not it was not
No,
an option. It was
no.
not a desire. Okay.
I did it. I didn't have a choice. And so I did it for about maybe a year until it got long enough to where somebody could braid it.
Okay. And so what's the question? Do you feel like the messaging that you got in those early years of life was that your hair needed to be hidden because it was a problem? Or did you feel like I guess the question is what other messages? Were there messages of my hair is not long enough? My hair is not something enough. You know what I mean? What was there?
Okay, so the real deal is, again, I grew up in the 60s, 70s, the 70s, 80s, and the message was that my hair was nappy.
Mm.
Yeah, my hair was nappy and it was not controllable. And that white was right, and so length was better. I was never going to be white because I'm all chocolate, right?
Well.
But I could have longer hair. I felt that I know that I got more attention from men when I had longer hair.
Mm.
And so that's what I did.
And the goal, you know what's interesting, and the goal that a lot of us have is attention from men.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right? Like I hear that in the story, and listen, we all get it honest. So
Yeah.
your hair, you were told, was not conducive to the socially acceptable standard of beauty.
That's it. That's it. Yes, that's it.
So how did that affect your relationship with your hair? Like, was hair a concern? Were you thinking about it a lot? Was it a tumultuous relationship? Was it a non-thing? How did feeling like social beauty standards, you could never match up to them, affect your relationship with your hair?
That's such an interesting question. I felt beautiful as long as I had hair. And so when I got my hair done, it was one of the best days. Like, again, and my hair was braided. And so the length of my hair when I was in my 20s and 30s was always like probably the length that you have yours right now.
Mm-hmm.
It was always long enough for me to throw it up in a ponytail and put a cute little style in it because I had braids, and that made me feel pretty. And I can remember, okay, because I can tell a story. I was in between getting my hair done. I couldn't get my appointment with my hairdresser to line up with a date. Okay, mm-hmm. So I had a date. But the guy that I was dating at the time was a poet. He was a very centered guy. And I knew that he would not.
I remembered something you told me when we were at the restaurant about dates.
Yes. So he was, and so I was going to meet him at this restaurant where they did poetry slams. And I had taken my braids out and I was like, okay, I'm going to cancel this date. But I was like, no, right? And so I got my hair straightened. And at this point, it was fairly long, but I just had my mother run a pressing comb through it. Mm-hmm. And I pulled it back in the ponytail. And I went on, right? Went on. Mm-hmm. And when he saw me, he went, "Oh, I love your Afro puff." And the confusing part was it was supposed to be straight. But by the time I got to the joint, it was a puff. And he thought it was on purpose.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know how to feel about it, but I just went with the flow, you know. Mm-hmm. But I ran to the hairdresser the next day. Because he was never supposed to see that. He was supposed to see a straight ponytail.
So even though he gave you positive feedback, you couldn't receive the feedback.
Oh no, his voice wasn't loud enough. It wasn't loud enough.
Listen,
even though he liked me. Huh?
You just said a word. You said his voice wasn't loud enough. And what I heard in my head was, I wonder if our voice isn't loud enough when it comes to our hair. Like there's so much noise around us.
Mm-hmm. At this point in my life, my voice, God's voice, is the loudest I hear, and then there's mine, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to line my voice up with what he says. But I can tell you that it has taken me a long time to get here.
Okay.
It's taken me a long time to get here.
So my next question is, you said that you felt beautiful when you had hair. How is that different than when you had gray hair? Because you said that you met another obstacle, mental obstacle later in life when your hair started graying and you were covering it up. So you felt beautiful when you had colored hair. What was the messaging about gray hair that was like what did you hear? What did you think it meant, the graying?
So I think it's so interesting to me because you very often hear that black don't crack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So very often I would tell people how old I was, and they would say, "There's no way," right? And I like that. And
Mm.
gray hair meant that I might be my age. That was one of it, or I would look older.
Oh.
And so that was part of the rejection of the gray hair. Um, it's not again. I At this point, I think I look good, and so I don't think like that now.
Mm-hmm.
But embracing gray hair was hard.
So
It took me a while. You know how you were talking about your eyebrows a little while ago?
mm-hmm.
So how you look in the mirror and you're not used to seeing that thing that's different on your face.
Correct.
It takes you a while to just. That was the whole trepidation with the gray hair.
So okay, I want to jump into this part that you said about you used to be told that you look younger than you were, which I also get that now. Somebody told me I look like I'm 30 this
He's like,
morning.
yes.
And I thought, come on now, y'all. Now I get it, but y'all pushing it now at this point. 30? Anyway, but not gonna lie, it don't feel bad to be told that.
No, it does not.
And so let's go there for a second, Evette, because I wanna unpack this. What is it about that compliment that felt good to you? Being told that you were perceived as younger than you were. Can you think of what it was in like the I might want you to activate your therapist you right now. Like give me a little bit more depth. What is it about that compliment that lights us up?
I mean, it means that I'm beautiful. Um, it means that I stand out. Um, it it means that I'm not old.
And so in contrast, old isn't beautiful and old doesn't stand out. Old, what's the opposite? What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of shrinks back or
Old, I don't know. Old may mean that I might be forgotten,
oh,
or I might not be as valued. Um,
mm.
you're really making me put on my thinking cap
I
because
know that's what I mean.
I can't say that I ever really thought these things through.
That's why I'm asking the question. I've never sat and thought about it that deep either. But last week's conversation made me realize that there's a deep root in these spaces for us, and especially as Black women. I tend now to talk about spiritual and mental and emotional things. But I started out in the beauty space. And a lot of what they were talking about, I had worked through a lot of that stuff. Alicia was talking about how she cut off her locks because she didn't want everybody kept giving her compliments about her locks. And she started to feel like her locks belonged to everybody else. And I'm like, girl, I've been locked. I've been bald. The natural hair community kept getting mad at me because I wouldn't keep my hair on my head. Once I went bald, I was like, have y'all done this? It's the best thing ever. And I just kept cutting it off. And they was like, ma'am, we are subscribed to a hair channel. You ain't got no hair. I was so free. I was like, freedom is mine. Okay, watch me, right? So that's why I want to have this conversation in a deep way because the messaging is important. And if we can chit chat about the messaging that we hear and what we're actually like trying to avoid, it could not only just help us, but it could help the ladies listening. Okay, so let's go back. So you said you felt beautiful, all that. And then you said, and I asked, in contrast, that means that we are told that old is not beautiful. And old is, you said, potentially can be forgotten. Is that what you said? What else?
Unvalued, not valuable. not useful.
Not useful.
There's a lot of things associated with it. And I think another part was watching the realization of watching my mom get older and eventually leaving this planet. It wasn't a spot where when she aged and she needed us to care for her. And of course we did. We rallied around her and cared for her, but her pride was not, she didn't want that. She accepted it because it was where she wanted to be. And then I watched her care for my grandfather, who, we talk about white hair. His hair was literally the color of cotton. It was that, and it felt like cotton. There was no salt and pepper. It was all white. His was, and so. But I watched her care for him, and that's what aging meant. And so the gray hair, I think, God, Rashni, you got me going deep.
Listen,
I think the gray hair symbolized that journey for me.
Evette, you know I like to go deep. Okay, I told y'all I like to laugh, but at any moment, I'm gonna ask you a deep question. Okay, beware. Okay, no, seriously, that's so good because I know you're not alone. I know that the messaging, Black women get messaging about our hair textures. Black women get messaging about our hair length. Black women get messaging about our hairstyles. Black women get messaging about our hair density. And we, as women, and of course, as Black women, get messaging about hair color because of ageism and because this society tells us that our usefulness is in our youth, right? And so we are often, I'm going to say the word cosplaying because that's the word that came to me. Cosplaying youth so that we can, what is it, God? Almost so that we can reap the value proposition of a society that rewards that thing. So we cosplay for as long as we can.
So we can remain relevant.
Girl, listen, right there. That's it. The video's over. That's it. Okay, coming out. We figured it out. No, seriously.
Yes.
Listen, I'm sitting here for me too, because as a person who has a lot of socially desirable things happening physically, which I've shared in past videos, was actually a point of contention for me. My therapist and I had to talk about the fact that I had a body image issue, and I didn't know you could have a body image issue looking nice. I thought that only had to do with weight, if I'm being honest. And he was like, no, you got a problem with how you look, yada, yada, yada. And we went down the rabbit hole of that. So that's why you all see me showing up here with brows on my face, trying to look cute, because I'm trying to show up in the body God gave me and honor the body God gave me. You know what I'm saying? But I also, when I started my natural hair journey, I haven't fully gotten to the gray. I got a little bit of grays. You know, they coming in, but they're not like yours. And that's, God, I mean, I see what you've done for my sister. If you're going to do it. I'm saying, okay. Anyway, it's not in the genetics, but you could pray. But when I went into the natural hair community, I had a lot of what was desirable. And I've never said that aloud. Girl, I had the length. I didn't know I had it. I had a looser, wiry texture across the top. Didn't know I had that either. Density? You want hair? Girl, I had hair on hair on hair on hair. I had my stylist one time told me flat out, she was like, Rashni, you are not using your nappy cred. That's what she told me on the internet. She was like, you are hiding. You could have a bigger platform if you would just flaunt your hair. She's in my hair. She's like, if you would flaunt this on people. And I was like, I don't want. You know what I mean? So I have not encountered as many of the psychological impediments when it comes to hair on my hair journey, right? But graying, I'm starting to, right? So I'm sitting here with you trying to understand this thing too. Because when Stephanie was talking about it last Saturday, I was like, I never thought about the messaging that we get as women and how gray could be a symbol that we have to now live in a different category in society. Like we can't be seen as useful anymore, and what that comes with. Does that make sense, Evette?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think I really would first of all, I can say I love the natural hair journey that we've been taking over these last few years, but there's parts of it I hate.
Speak about it.
And the parts that I hate is how we judge each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if somebody is still pressing or perming their hair, let them be great. They haven't gotten there yet. And you pushing them and bullying them to go someplace they're not ready for only means they're going to fall flat on their face when they go because they weren't ready for that journey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I love being a Black woman because that means that today I can be slaying my gray, but tomorrow I might look totally different.
Listen,
it's one of those things that I love about being a Black woman. My hair could be blonde, my hair could be gray, my hair could be black. You know, I could do what I want to do with it. And I love that. And I love that for us. But I don't like how we're pressuring one another to be someplace. Yes, it is awesome if I can embrace my hair the way that it grows out of my head. But I don't live in a world that allows me to do that easily.
My God.
And peer pressuring me into doing it is not helping me along the way.
That's
and so
good.
I love the little gray specks that you have right here on your head. I love it. I think it's cute. But if you dyed it because you didn't want the world to see it, I wouldn't say a word to you. Because this is your journey.
Well, how do you feel? That is beautiful. And I agree. How do you feel about if a person is doing it because of a mental thing? You know,
I was doing it because of a mental thing.
Choice. Like I just want to, you know, I don't dye my hair because I'm lazy. And my hair grows so fast that the upkeep. Listen, one time I had cut all my hair off and I caught myself having a Toni Braxton hairstyle. Okay. That lasted 1 month. Do you hear me? Because the way the sides of my hair would be grown out in a week, and I would have to go to the hairdresser every week. And that's not the life that God has for me. This growth rate, y'all, this is what let me have a little aside coming in, Evette. Okay. Black women want long hair, fast growing hair until they get it. Okay. Y'all don't want problems. Y'all don't. Do you dye your hair and your hair stays dyed for a while? Good for you. I would dye my hair, girl, and next week the gray will be back. And I would be like, well, who's doing this at this point? So the reason that I don't get into hair color is because the way my hair be growing, they want these problems till they don't. Okay. They want the long, thick hair till they got to wash dead. I'm trying to tell y'all something. I better be happy with the hair on y'all.
The grass is always greener on the other side, honey. It's always greener on the other side. You're sitting there looking at mine going, I wish my hair grayed like this. And I'm like, maybe I'm sitting here going, I wish my hair only grayed like that. Or I remember when my hair only did gray like that. And what I would do was take some mascara and run it through there so that it matched the rest of my hair. And
I told me about the little wand. They told me about it. But then I'm afraid because I sweat so much that I'm going to be sitting here looking like Rudy Giuliani at that press conference.
That's why you get waterproof mascara.
Well, then you got to tell me the information, okay? Because y'all, I'll be sitting here and black stuff would just be running down my face.
Listen, what I'm saying, but my point though is the reason I hid was a mental reason. It wasn't real. There was no real obstacles. There were ones that I put in place.
Well, you and society. I'm going to take a little bit of that weight off of you because you said something super powerful earlier, which is having an abundance of grace for the woman who is just trying to be out here winning in this game. And yes, you can wish the best for her and you can want the liberation for her, but you can't want it more than she wants it for herself. And so everybody's journey is a journey, and let her be on her journey. One of the things I've learned is I was Captain Sava. You know, I was Miss Offer Up information when people didn't ask me to. I had to, you know, the Lord had to get that out of me. I realize now I offer when I'm asked. Girl, I could be sitting right there with the key to the door that you are complaining about, knowing exactly how to get you through it. And if I don't hear an unction in my spirit to say something from God, and if you don't ask me, I will keep my peace and go about my business, because I have learned from many an opportunity trying to drag somebody to something that they didn't want, that don't stick anyway. And like you said, they gonna fall and bust their face, and then they gonna turn to you and be like, you the one that told me to get this natural hair. I don't know what to do with it, right? So so gray hair had messaging behind it. Gray hair is a outward symbol, right? I'm focusing on gray with you because you and I had this conversation. Gray hair is an outward symbol to society that I am actually in a time of life that you have told me a lot of negative things about. So let me ask this question. What got you to where you are now? Beyond just, I know you said, like everybody in the pandemic, sorry, girl, when the pandemic first hit and we were all bored in the house, and we in the house bored, and people were posting up on the internet, people was coming apart. I started to see men who no haircuts, eyebrows weren't getting done, nails was coming off people's, and I was sitting there saying, man, it's the low maintenance girlies time to shine, okay? Because I looked exactly the same. I did nothing, right? So there was no maintenance appointments that I was missing. And I was like, man, a lot of people out here falling apart them few months in the house. So that happened, and you couldn't get your hair done. What else happened? Because it couldn't have just been, I couldn't get my hair done. There had to be some mental something, or which came first? You know what I mean? What happened to get you to where you are now, where you having trouble remembering when you didn't think you was cute?
I remember hiding. I feel like what happened was God put me in a position where I could not hide anymore. And then once I was no longer hiding, there was no purpose in hiding. And even to the point now where I really want to get a different color hair for the summer. Might go back to black, might do brown or something like that. And I've talked to you about this.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that's scared to do that now, because that might mean that I'm hiding again, and I will get used to hiding again.
I don't think so.
And you told me that, but I know I don't want to hide anymore. This is what I look like.
You know what you could do? Listen, okay, here, listen. This is a personal conversation, y'all. Just over listen to me, okay? Me and Evette having a conversation in y'all business. You see my little patch right here? I wanted this to grow in like Storm. You know how Storm on X-Men have that streak? You could intentionally leave some gray. Like a streak, like a little, like a for real, like a marker, like, or like something like right, like a little peekaboo right here, and it's like it's still there, suckers, and that way it'll be like a psychological, like.
And the thing is, I still might do it. I still might just go. I might show up tomorrow with black hair. I'm not saying that I won't do it, but I'm saying that it felt like hiding, and I don't want to hide anymore. I love the way I look, and it's taken me a long time to get here. Okay. And it's not just the gray hair. There's so many aspects of ourselves that we hide. And especially as African-American women, there's so many times where we have to shift in situations, it's called code switching, but we do it, in my professional life, in my personal life, in my church life, and I'm so many different people at so many different times. At this point in my life, all I want to be is Evette. And Evette is a dark-skinned, gray-haired woman who's heavy set with crooked teeth, who loves big hoop earrings and can slay some makeup when she feels like it.
And she's tall, you guys. Evette shocked me. I don't know how Evette didn't tell me she was tall. When I met this woman walk inside the restaurant, I said, "What's going on here, man?"
I am not as tall as Roshni makes me seem, y'all.
As tall as me, but you're tall.
Listen, and it's so funny because my sister is as tall as Roshni is, and I always think I'm short. But I'm also very accustomed to people her height responding to me this way, because they're like, "Oh, I think they think the whole world may be little people."
Exactly. Most of the people are small people. So when you came in the restaurant and there was more Evette than I expected, I said, well, you could have said something. I'm up. I thought I was up here by myself. I thought I was gonna have to bend low to hug you. Okay. And you was right there. Anyway.
But I mean, I'm all these things though, and this is who I am, right? And so when I feel like it, there's days like, honestly, today I got up and did my hair because I was doing this show, but today is totally a head wrap day, right? I totally feel like wrapping my head. And so if I feel like wrapping my head and I have to go to the office, I'm going to the office with my head wrapped now. That was different before the pandemic. I would have never done that because white professionalism says that that's not okay.
Okay, but have they said anything when you show up with the head wraps? What have they said?
I love your head wrap, Evette.
And I work positive again.
I work in a predominantly white agency. I'm the only. They may have just hired a Black clinician. I'm not clear, but I'm the only Black clinician on staff. And I since the pandemic, I've been flaunting my Blackness, and all they said is, "Yes, I'm here for it." And again, because when this is why I said I feel like I'm putting myself in a box, and I feel a lot of times that we have put ourselves in the box. Some fights are worth fighting, but some fights are not real.
Oh, it's a word. Listen, that's so good. I still want to bring in some of those fights are worth fighting because society does give you messages.
Yes.
However, I hear you, and as a fellow head wrap lover, okay, who will you listen? I have an addiction at this point. Need to stop buying them. Sometimes the battlefield really is the mind, and just the mind. You know what I love about your story? When you said that you went on that date back in the day and the guy gave you a positive feedback about your puff that you thought was straight, but the humidity said not so. Listen, every Black woman know that whole thing where they like, I went out with my hair this way. I went out with a twist out one time, came out with a fro. I came back home with a fro. I don't know who thought that was going to stay twisted in any way, shape, or form. You couldn't receive his feedback. But fast forward now, you go to work, you get positive feedback, and you're like, thank you. I know.
It's a whole different kind of walk. And for those people who are struggling with this, if I could communicate anything to you, I would communicate that it's freedom. It is absolute freedom to not have to worry about it anymore, to not care anymore. Again, there's still things I struggle with. Everybody will always, but my hair is generally not one of them. Whether I wrap it, whether I wear it like this, if I shave my head at this point, I think I might be able to do it. I have never tried, but I think I might be able to do it because this is what I look like.
Because when you shave your hair off, let me tell you something, okay? I think Alecia talked about this in her video because she cut her hair off and she can't grow it back yet. She's stuck. And I was like, I understand that. Because I told you I went through a season where, and I will cut my hair off in a second too. When I had my locks, them suckers disappeared. And people was like, where your hair went? It's in a bag under the bed. Listen, let me tell you something, Evette. You cut your hair off, you're horrified at first. You get under that shower one good time. Make sure you do it. You get a really good smelling shampoo. A cheap one to start out with is like Suave Strawberry. You know what I mean? $1 from Walmart. And you put your head underneath that shower, everything changes. Okay, let me tell you something. You walk out in the sunlight and that sun hits your scalp and you're just like, I'm gonna be bald for the rest of my life. Like in your mind, you're like, why was I not doing this before? It is the best thing ever. Now, Alecia did talk about the fact that when it's cold, don't cut it when it's cold. But girl, if you ever cut all your hair off, that's why you see Black women who cut their hair off, they just stay bald. Because they really know something we don't know. It's amazing. Okay, and then you start noticing. The other thing is, because you were saying I'm all chocolate, whatever. Girl, you start noticing your facial features in a way you never have. You be like, whose neck is that? You walk by glass, like how you see like windows in the stores and stuff. You walk by, be like, oh. It's like, because all you see is you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it is just the most addictive thing ever. It's look at Lori. Lori said it's great. I'm trying to tell y'all, they done lied to us, they done bamboozled us because sometimes they are like, all of these things are negative, 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 negative. But when you get to like see it, and like you're really nice and chocolatey. So at first you would cut it off and your skin underneath would be a different complexion. But once you got some sun on that and a little hair grew in, it would be that chocolate. Listen. Okay, so I have a question. Have you ever gotten negative feedback since you went gray? Like any instance, work or in a social setting, or even something that you perceived you were being treated differently, um, wearing your hair in as gray as opposed to color?
I don't think so.
Mm.
I don't. I feel like there's a level. Okay, so I work with a lot of young people,
Mm-hmm.
and they ma'am me more now that
They
I'm
man
gray.
you.
Yes. I have a group of coworkers who just absolutely adore me. They're young, they're in their 20s. They absolutely adore me, but they will not call me Evette.
Mm-hmm.
They call me Miss Evette.
Yeah.
And I wonder if my hair was a different color, if I'd still be Miss Evette.
So it changed. You're saying you noticed a change when you started wearing your hair gray. People started being more formal with you.
Yes. Yes. But I don't think it's a bad thing.
I was gonna say that's actually not horrible. Like, girl, you getting discounts and stuff? Like, what's going on? You, I need to get in on this grace for
Just go
savings.
ahead,
What's
just
happening?
get the AARP card and you get them
I
discounts.
did post about that AARP card.
I saw
You get
that
an
post.
AARP. You could get an ARP card at 18. Don't play with me. My mother was on that post trying to join me, and I was like, "Girl, you can miss your blessings if you want to. I'm gonna go get my blessings, okay? Whatever." ARP
Yeah.
out here trying to give us stuff.
So
Gas
I think
discount.
there was a mindset shift at some point with me, Rashni, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it was actually when I turned 50,
Okay.
because there was no going back at that point. I was 50, I had reached that point, and then some. So I think I started to just embrace my age before I turned 50. Let's say I was 40.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that somebody would ask me how old I was, and I would say I'm celebrating the 5th anniversary of my 35th birthday.
What? Okay,
I
got it.
know, right?
Got me doing math, girl. I need something else in this cup. Okay,
And I was
like
doing
5,
that.
4, carry this. Okay, got it.
And I was doing that up until I turned 50. And when
Mm.
I turned 50, I was just 50.
So wait, you were celebrating the 14th anniversary of your 35th birthday?
For a long time. Every year I'd have the anniversary of my 35th birthday. And when I turned 50, I was like, you know what? I'm 50 and I'm fabulous. I made it. You know what I'm saying? Do you know how many people didn't live to 50?
Well,
There's people that didn't get to where I got to, and I'm like, I'm tired of hiding. I was just tired of hiding. This is who I am. This is what I look like. And this is how my hair grows out of my head. And I don't get judgment about it. Mostly, I get so many compliments. You know what you said to me when you first saw me?
what did I say?
You
Tell me.
said how it's so much prettier in person than it was on camera.
You were listen. Evette is a light. Like there's like a thing around her. There's like a, so you were taller, your hair was like more stunning. I was like, ooh, oh, okay, Miss Thing. When I met her in person, I was like, oh, okay, yes, ma'am.
And I get but those are the remarks that I get about my gray hair.
Mm-hmm.
Almost always, I was in a training. So I'm a trainer, so I'm standing in front of a room, and there's another lady in there, and she's got gray braids,
Mm-hmm.
right? She got gray braids. I'm looking at, she's stunning, black lady. She's stunning, right? And as soon as we got a break, she ran up to me. I love your hair. And I was like, I love your hair. And we just loving on each other. We just loving on each other. And it's just liberating.
Mm.
It is absolutely liberating. I get nothing but compliments. I don't know. I'm never going back. I mean, like I said, I might go black for a while, but I'll come back to this.
You think it's a trademark? now?
I think that it's I am in a journey. I don't know if it's trademark, and I'm not sure, but what I think is that the conversation that I'm having with you right now is the conversation that God intends for me to have with other people. And if I'm hiding, I can't help other people come out of hiding.
Listen, you in here dropping bombs. Because I've heard you say hiding so much, and how you've transitioned from a person who was hiding yourself in so many different spaces, and the liberty and the freedom and the levity and the expression. And I think that that's what I sensed when I walked toward you, a free woman, a light woman, a shining woman. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think that might have been what your brother was saying when he said you look younger.
It's probably what he said to me, and you're absolutely right. But the level of I don't care what you think about me that exists in
Mm-hmm.
my body at this point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I spent too much of my time caring about what you think.
Well,
And at this point, I want to please the Lord first and then me. And
mm-hmm.
if what I'm doing is not pleasing to him, I'm working on that. That's just where I want to be. I like being here. It's liberating. And if I can help somebody else get here, that's what I'm going to do.
Love it.
And so I'm not going to judge you based on your hair, your experiences. I'm not. And when judgment comes up, Roshni, I literally say, okay, that's judgment. Let me get out of there, because it does come up. But I try to leave that place, because if I'm judging you, and I want everybody to hear this one, if I'm judging you, I cannot help you, because I'm just like everybody else.
And you can't be free. I don't think we can be free ourselves until we start releasing the judgments we have, because our contempt and judgments for others are a reflection of things that we don't like about us. And I say that because that's something that I have been learning. Okay. Just like you said, I have to tell myself, now, why do you care if she got a bonnet on, Rushni?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that was something I had. Listen, God had to liberate me from that thing, okay? Because I was right there with the why they can't, whatever. Girl, I can't even remember why they got a bonnet on in the
Oh, I
place.
didn't like the bonnet
Yada
either.
yada, bada bada bada. Okay, it took God telling me to sit down, be quiet, and process. What is it about that bothers you so much?
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you, I had to really dig up the whole respectability, this, that, and the other social programming. And then I came out on the other side realizing that the women walking around with bonnets on in the grocery store were actually freer than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I had to sit my tail down and be like, oh, okay. Because what
Yes.
I'm doing is looking at their freedom and judging them when they are actually more liberated than I am, because they minding their business, probably taking care. Listen, I am not important enough at the grocery store to mess up this hairstyle. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
girl, I'm in here trying to get my Takis and a bottle, you know what I mean? Something to drink right quick. And you judging me? Ain't nobody got time for you. I got something else to go to later, something to go to tomorrow. I just want my hair to be covered. What is the difference between your head wrap, Rushni,
In my
and their
bonnet.
silk? But listen, God had to bop, 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 bop. I said, okay, God, I got it. I'm free. And now I'm worried about Rushni. You see what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And so I keep hearing you talking about hiding. And I think a lot of us get that messaging, Black women, about hiding. And I keep hearing you reference moments in your story where you peeled off another layer that you were hiding behind, and you keep revealing more and more of Evette. I've been telling myself this year that I'm showing up as 1% more Rushni every single day. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what I hear you saying. You know what I wanted to tell you to Yvette? It's funny because I'm doing the opposite. Maybe you could tell me why I'm doing this. You said that you, in your mind, you hadn't aged from your 35th birthday. So you were always saying, I'm celebrating the 5th, 6th, 7th anniversary. I've been claiming 50 for like the past 4 years. I forgot how old I was. Like, I literally had to, this last birthday, I had to pull the calculator out and be like, how old am I? Because and I'm sure you've heard me say it in videos. I've been saying, I'm breathing on 50's neck. Now, girl, I was like 44. And at 44, I was like, I'm almost 50. I'm back there growing. I'm almost 50. I've been claiming 50 since the early 40s. I have to see which one of these four. I'm actually 47, you guys. I did the math. I'm gonna be 48 this year. But when I tell you, I've been calling myself 50 for years. So I was doing the opposite.
I don't, you know what? I don't know. Maybe it's the ideal age, because when I turned 50, I was 50. And so maybe it's the ideal age. I turned 50 during the pandemic, which absolutely sucked. And I did, and so to celebrate, I went on what I call a selfie birthday tour, which means I went to every member of my family's house to say hi to them so they could say happy birthday to me. I did that whole day, and I took a selfie with them. Because they were all quarantined. Everybody was quarantined. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. And I did. I have pictures with everybody's house that I stopped at. I have a selfie with them.
I love that.
Because it was 50. I had to celebrate it. And I've been free ever since. I am a 54-year-old slaying and graying queen. And I'm just going to celebrate it.
So here's a question. What advice, I know you said something before, what advice would you give to somebody who is struggling with this portion of their hair journey, specifically the symbolic change of their hair from, strands that have melanin in them to strands that are losing their melanin, which is basically what your graying is, right? What advice would you give to somebody to show up more as themselves in this space, in this way?
I had a friend who she has those sister locks, but her hair is long and thick and beautiful, and she's not graying, so it's not about gray. But I think it helped me a great deal when I heard this story. She straightened her hair, and she straightened it it was just like a silk press, right? And she came to work, and hair is halfway down her back, right? The length was, and it was beautiful. It was just fantastic. And so this colleague, who happened to be of the peach persuasion, kept complimenting her.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, the colleague said to her, it just seems like it wants to be this way, talking about her hair.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to be this way. And her response liberated me. Her response was, if it wants to be this way, this is how it would grow out of my head.
Well.
And so my advice would be, who are you to question God's work? Say this to yourself. If God created me to look like this, why am I? There's nothing wrong with helping, enhancing beauty. But to cover it up is to say that what he created wasn't beautiful.
That's good.
And he created me to look exactly the way I look in this moment. And I'm not saying I'm 100% there, because I still struggle with my teeth. I do, but one of the things that I've decided about my teeth was it's not going to keep me from smiling. And so I do. I smile, I grin, I get in pictures, and I cheese. I do all of that because this is how my teeth grow in my mouth. I still don't like them, though. But it's not like I'm going to yank them out. So here I am. And I guess what I'm saying is, ask yourself how God created you. And see if you can embrace the beauty that he sees. And again, that doesn't mean that if you're graying, that doesn't mean you stop covering it up. But maybe what you do is, in between appointments, you look at yourself in the mirror a little longer. You look at your gray, you admire it, then you go cover it up. And then the next time you do it a little bit longer. But try to see the beauty that God sees in you. Because I look exactly the way I'm supposed to look at this moment. This is who he created. Now, when I show up with straight white teeth, don't say nothing, because I'm not saying.
I'm here with some new eyebrows tattooed on my face, and I haven't even sure if I love them yet, but th're there now. Okay, y'all about to get this brow work.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
so I'm not saying to stop what you're doing, but I'm saying to learn a little bit every day about how to love you where you are.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I would also suggest that you guys, and this is for anything in a space that you may have some challenges. If you're going to consume media about beauty on the internet, add some people that look like the beauty standard you're trying to accept. There are a lot of beautiful graying Black women in part or in full all over the internet. They are in my timeline. Young women who have gone fully gray and made their entire platform off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Women who are aging, women who have the shock of hair in the front that I want, that I can't, the skunk stripe I can't get. My little patch don't want to comply. Okay, I want the skunk stripe and it will not comply. Okay, look, put more of those people in your eye gates. I'm not saying only those people, but it can help you in any space challenge your programming of what is beautiful. So if you thicker than a Snicker and everybody you follow is a size 0, that's gonna cause a lot of self flagellate. Like you're gonna be beating yourself up because your
Mm-hmm.
legs don't look like their legs, and you know what I mean. But if you out here looking like Sierra did the other day in that dress that she put on, I don't know what Russell. This last pregnancy got her. Listen, I have a thick like frozen peanut butter at this point. Okay, I said, my God, you need to put more of that in your timeline. If gray is something that you want the beauty standard to go toward, look for those Black women on in your eye gates, because representation matters.
Yes.
Exposure to the beautiful thing matters. Somebody who's already ahead of you on the journey matters. They can show Evette, like even sitting here looking at Evette's hair, I know somebody's like, actually, that is kind of pretty. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me rethink this thing. Exactly. That's
Mm-hmm.
how that works, right? People have shared with me over the years things that I've done, and they'll be like, I could never. I'm always getting that. I could never cut all my hair off. I could never shave ones. Girl, I'd be shaving the side, cutting it off, wearing all kind of weird hairstyle. I could never. You could stick around here long enough and watch
Mm-hmm.
me do it, and it's gonna get in your spirit. It's gonna change what you think is beautiful. Okay, this is okay. So we are a little over time. I just wanted to scroll back and see if I forgot anything in the comment section. Evie Scott, this was earlier. She said, I love my hair, but the salt and pepper taking over in the front is still something I'm struggling with, which is crazy because I looked at your avatar and I thought, no, that's what I want. Did you see that the grass is always greener? I'm
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
struggling to love over a decade after I stopped dyeing it. I started going gray at 24. I think maybe sometimes people feel like they got shysted when they started to gray early too, like they
Mm-hmm.
thought they needed more time. But I kid you not, Evie, I don't know if you're still here, but girl, I looked at your avatar and I thought to myself, ooh, that's what I want. That gray in the front.
And again, it is an adjustment, though. She's right. That is absolutely adjustment, and I think because I feel like I heard the voice of God regarding my hair, the way I see it is different. But
Mm.
I don't know if I had not had the interaction with my brother, which led to the interaction with God. I don't know where I would be at this point. But this is the way my hair grows out of my head, so it wants to be this way.
Mhm.
This is what my hair wants. So who am I to deny my hair this, right? But also, this is the way God created me, and that's just huge for me. It's
You know what else I
huge.
loved about what you said earlier? You said, not only did you say this is what I look like, you said this is how I'm supposed to look in this season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It absolutely is.
Listen, I'm never going to forget that event because we are designed. I was just talking to somebody about how we take for granted the seasons that we're in as if we're always going to be there. And one of the fallacies of youth is that we're always going to return back to it. So you can spend an entire life, help God, chasing a version of you that is no longer the version that you are or that you will ever be. And what an unnecessary fount of discontentment to always be trying to get back to your 25-year-old stomach. I said it because the way my stomach is set up right now, I can't go back. Okay. A C-section star said, I won't go back. I said, you know what I mean? We think, oh, well, I'm going to get back to a previous version of us, not realizing that we're missing who we are supposed to be right now. We're looking backward when we're designed to be a very specific new, we get to meet a new version of ourselves. That's what God just said to me. We're missing the new version of ourselves that we get to meet because we're constantly looking back trying to have our old whatevers. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. Clearly, I'm not. But I'm just saying it can help sometimes to settle you and maybe almost like calm you down and let you just rest in a season. If you think this is what I'm supposed to look like right now, this
You
is
know, I had a season in my life where I was really, really depressed, and I had to come up out of that depression. And when I came up out of it, I wanted to get back to the me that I had previously been.
Mm,
And it took me a lot, but I've grieved that person because I'll never be hurt again.
well,
My experiences, every experience that you have, Rushni, and to anybody that's listening, every experience, every moment that you have changes who you were the moment before. And that is okay.
say more. Say more about
You are a special needs mom.
that. Hmm.
If you weren't a special needs mom, you'd be a different version of who you are. You would not be the Rushni that's sitting in front of me. Being Zion's mother has changed you
Girl,
forever.
on a molecular level. Do you hear me? In a
Forever.
way that I cannot even express to you all. I am a whole different human being. I can never unsee it. I can never unbe it.
So there's moments, there's points in this conversation that you said, ooh, that's a nugget. I'm taking it with me. There'll be points in your life now that you've heard that thing that you'll remember that I said it, and it will change the way you walked in that moment. Because every experience we have, ultimately, every interaction we have with other people changes the way we walk. It could be for the best or it could be for the worst, but it changes us. You know, we have people that survive rape, who survive somebody dying, who survive so many different tragedies. And that tragedy, that survival, means that you are not the person you were before that incident happened. There's elements of me that's going to always be the same, right? I'm a God-fearing woman, love my family. Those things just don't change in me. But my hair did.
Mm-hmm.
My hair changed. It went from being black to being white. And I can't go back to the person with black hair anymore because I even walk differently because of the way my hair, because I people compliment me all the time. So I'm shining, right?
And
It's different.
if you try to go back to the person who had the black hair, you're missing out on the person that has the white hair.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm just like, okay, God, I got that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna miss everything that comes with this version of me.
Mm-hmm. And I like this version of me. That's the interesting thing. Once I started to get to know her, I thought she was a pretty cool chick. And so I like hanging out with her. And again, it's not that I didn't like the version of me with black hair, but the version of me with black hair didn't have the experiences that I have. If I had black hair, I may never have met you. I mean, I don't think that's true, but it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a possibility. The conversation that I had with the lady in the training, the moment that we had of loving on each other, if I didn't have this hair, I wouldn't have had that moment.
Right.
And so I like who I am. And I'm also, to come out of the depression the first time I had a bout of depression, to come out of it, I had to line myself up with what God said about me. And what he said to me was that I was wonderfully and fearfully made. What he said to me is that every hair on my head was numbered. And I thought, wait a minute, I don't even know the numbers of the hair on my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, if he knows me that intimately, then this is who I am and this is what I'm supposed to look like. He
Right.
didn't create no junk. And so I am who I am in this moment. And I'm not going to grieve the me of yesterday because I'm never going to be 25 years old again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to be 32 years old again. I'm only moving forward at this point. So I need to enjoy the 54-year-old me because in September she'll be 55.
Right.
And I'm just going to keep moving forward. This is the thing about people, about humans, okay? We don't like change. And a lot of people don't say it out loud, but we don't, especially if you have that moment where you're happy, right? And so you want to keep that moment forever. Right? But at this point, happiness is not static. It's something that fluctuates.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this moment, I've changed. I've changed since having this conversation. I didn't want to have this conversation.
Y'all. I'd be pulling Evette out. Okay. You realize that God has given me a pull you out dispensation because the way we went out to eat.
Oh, God, that was hilarious.
That was hilarious, okay? Because she was trying to be an introvert, and God said, not so, okay? God said, not so. And I was like, I just went right by and scooped her up. I was like, ooh, who left this person here? I think she was trying to hide from me. And I was like, let me just go ahead and scoop her up.
But what if I had remained that introvert and kept dodging you? Mm-hmm. Would we be having this conversation right now?
Maybe not. Maybe not, because our subsequent, we had our conversation last year. You were on my page last year. You pop up, in the comment sections, and we were cordial. But then, God gave you the 1-2 punch with that text message that you thought you was going to have time. And he said, no, tomorrow, which is hilarious. And then we sat there talking for hours. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, because you shared this with me, I was like, oh yeah, let me hit Evette up, and plus you're easy to talk to for me. You know what I mean? When I'm having these conversations with people, I know I can count on Evette to come out here and chop it up with me because you're easy for me to talk to. So we might not have been.
Mm-hmm. So allow the change. With no change, there is no growth. Mm-hmm. There's no change, no growth. And again, we have to allow the change and embrace the change. And so maybe that change for you is embracing your natural hair. Maybe it's embracing your gray hair.
Right.
But allow it and see where it'll take you. Because you may end up on a platform with your favorite social media influencer chopping it up.
And you know what, though? If I had not allowed my hair to go natural, none of this would be, all of us sitting here. Mm-hmm. This entire experience happened because I decided to see what my hair texture was like decades ago, way before social media, like literally before social media, you guys. I was hand coding a blog. I was on Fotkey, which was an image sharing website. This was before Facebook, before everything. That's when I say I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. Matter of fact, I am one of the founding members. Okay. If you walk into a store and you buy something with argan oil in it, you're welcome. Okay. Because some of us was out here hustling. Okay. I used to get my shea butter from the motherland with rocks and twigs in it. We couldn't just go into no store and buy no shea butter. Okay. So some of us was out here putting the bricks down. And this entire experience since then, all of the coaching videos that came after, all of the laughter we've shared, and all of the years I told y'all how to do a twist out and whatever the heck I was telling y'all, crochet braids, where you're from, I don't know what I was telling y'all, was literally a decision to just show up as Rushni.
Mm-hmm. So it's possible. When you change, you grow.
Yeah.
You change, you grow.
I love that. Okay, I have one last question for you. How do you define beauty?
You like to make me think, Rushni.
Well,
you might have to start paying me for my time.
I might. Listen. Out into the existence. I'm gonna start paying you for your time. Go ahead. How do you define beauty, Evette?
How do I define beauty?
Yeah.
The way God created me. And I think that's the only way that I've come. I've been so low in depression, in self-hatred. The only way I came out of it was to say to myself, that this is the way God created me. I was teased and bullied as a child. That's where a lot of my insecurities came in because my hair wasn't naturally long. The kids called me bald headed. They called me black. They called me ugly. And I grew up believing that about myself. And then I met Jesus. And he said I was wonderfully and fearfully made. And I started to believe that. And so I'm beautiful. And I'm not beautiful because you told me I was beautiful. I'm not beautiful because you complimented me. I'm beautiful because this is the way God created me. And you know, here's a nugget for you. The scriptures tell us that we're made in his image and his likeness, right? So if I look in the mirror and call myself ugly, I just call God ugly. And I refuse to do that. And so the next time you see somebody and you think they're ugly, because I don't see people as attractive all the time either, but recognize that they were made in God's image and you're calling him ugly. And so my standard of beauty is the way God made me. It's who I am.
I love it. I love it. I think we did it. So if you want to find Evette, let me say I have a banner for you. I think I do. You can find her on Facebook. She is under PORW Ministry, which is Pen of the Ready Writer, right? Ministry. She has written 2 books. You want to tell people about your books?
Yes, I've written 2. The first one's a children's book, and it's about a little girl named Heaven who had experienced some bullying, and she decided that she was going to handle it the way the Word of God told her to handle it. And she set a whole community on fire with her faith. The second one is a poem. And it's kind of being marketed as a children's book, but I really want adults to get hold of it. It is a poem about being a Black woman, and it is phenomenal. But it's pictures and the pictures tell a separate story than the poem. And it becomes very, very engaging. And it's called She's a Black Girl. So the first one is The King's Daughter, and the second one is She's a Black Girl, and they're both available on Amazon. Or you can link up with me if you want a signed copy. You can go to my ministry page, inbox me, and I will send you a signed copy. There's a third book coming out sometime this year, and it's a continuation of Heaven's Journey.
Love it. Love it. The links to Evette's book are in the information box, whatever platform you are on. And everything we spoke about, I will go back and add links to it after this video, if we talked about a video or anything like that. If you would like to work with me as your coach, okay, I have not restarted my coaching community yet. However, I am still letting people sign the wait list, the Pineapple Crowns Coaching. You can go to thepineapplecrowns.com and sign the wait list, and you will find out when the coaching community is open for enrollment. I help Black women heal. To me, healing is a return to wholeness. What does that mean, Rashni? It means returning to who God designed you to be. Okay. I have it on my computer right here. Everything that was stolen, killed, and destroyed is restored, resurrected, and rebuilt. That's how I am trying to live my life, in alignment with who God designed. And so that's why I really like your definition of beauty, Evette, because that's literally what I consider healing to be. So join me, thepineapplecrowns.com, join the waitlist. And thank you, Evette.
Thank you for having me, Rashni.
We did it. Okay. Be well, you guys. Be encouraged. See you next time. Here's a pineapple. Bye.